This Viking floor trick heated homes all night. No fire, no smoke, no mercy for the cold. Cold has always been a better enemy than any army. It creeps in, it waits, and if you don't respect it, it wins. Long before modern insulation, long before radiators and electricity, people living on the edge of survival cracked a heating code that still makes sense today. The Vikings didn't just burn fires and hope for the best, they engineered warmth. Quietly, ruthlessly, all night long. And once you understand this floor trick, you'll never look at heat the same way again. This is wisdom from the Frontlines. Not theory, not comfort zone history. Real survival thinking forged in brutal winters. Why fire was the weakest link. Open fire is loud. It's smoky. It eats fuel fast. And once it dies, the cold rushes back in like a thief. Vikings knew this. They lived where winter wasn't a season. It was a siege. Keeping a fire burning all night meant constant fuel, constant tending, and constant risk. Smoke inhalation was deadly. Sparks caused fires. And chopping wood in deep winter cost calories you might not get back. So they flipped the problem. Instead of feeding heat all night, they stored it. That mindset alone separates survivors from victims. The Viking floor trick was simple, brutal, and brilliant. During the day, a hearth fire burned hot and hard. Not for light, not for comfort, but to charge the house. Stones beneath the floor absorbed that heat slowly and deeply. Sand and packed earth locked it in. When the fire was allowed to die down, the real work began. The floor released warmth gradually, hour after hour. No flame, no smoke. Just steady, rising heat pushing cold back where it belonged. This wasn't magic. It was thermal mass. Heavy materials soak up heat and release it slowly. Stone doesn't panic. It doesn't cool fast. It holds the line while you sleep. That's the trick. Viking homes weren't random. The floors were often raised slightly above the ground. Beneath them sat layers of stone, gravel, and compacted earth. These weren't structural accidents. They were intentional heat reservoirs. Warm air rises, heated stone radiates. The result was a room that stayed warm long after the fire was gone. Even in sub-zero conditions, the house didn't freeze overnight. That meant fewer wake-ups, less fuel, more energy saved for work, defense, and survival. This wasn't comfort. This was strategy. Why this beat constant fires? A roaring fire feels powerful, sure, but honestly, it's inefficient. Most of the heat just goes straight up and out. Vikings understood that visible flames were wasted energy unless they served a purpose. Their system turned short, intense burns into long-lasting warmth. Heat went into the floor, not the chimney. Smoke exposure dropped. Fire risk dropped. And well, fuel consumption dropped hard. That's a lesson World War II soldiers learned again centuries later. In frozen theaters, troops used thermal mass, earth sheltering, and controlled burns instead of open flames whenever possible. Same problem. Same solution, different century. Silent warmth is tactical warmth. There's another angle people miss. Fire announces you. Light leaks, smoke rises. Heat signatures travel. In hostile environments, silence matters. Viking settlements weren't always peaceful. Neither were World War II front lines. A house that stayed warm without visible fire was harder to detect. Less smoke meant fewer signs. Less light meant fewer eyes. Warmth without visibility is power. This wasn't luxury, it was engineering. Modern people love to romanticize Viking life, but honestly, they shouldn't. This system existed because failure meant death. Frozen livestock, sick children, weak fighters. The floor trick wasn't about being cozy, it was about controlling energy. Vikings burned fuel when it was safest and most efficient. Then they let physics do the rest. No moving parts, no maintenance, nothing to break. That's the kind of design that survives centuries. So, central heating made us lazy. We end up burning energy constantly instead of using it intelligently. These days, we heat air instead of mass. And, honestly, the second the power goes out, everything just collapses. Vikings. Well, they built systems that worked even when nothing else did. That's exactly why this matters now. In blackouts, in fuel shortages, in emergency shelters, and even in off-grid living, yeah, the old rules still win. Heat the mass, not the air. This trick still works today. You don't need to live in a longhouse to apply this kind of thinking. Stone floors, brick walls, earthen foundations, really, anything dense can act as a heat battery. Heat it up when energy is available, and then let it release slowly when it's not. That's not primitive, that's advanced. It's honestly the same logic used in modern passive houses and military cold weather shelters. The Vikings just figured it out without textbooks. The real lesson from the floor? Well, this isn't just about heating. It's about mindset. The Vikings didn't fight nature head-on. They worked with it. They stored energy, reduced waste, and planned for the night before it even came. That's what I'd call frontline thinking. Whether it was a longhouse in winter or a frozen World War II position holding through the night, the rule never changed. Smart heat beats more heat. And the floor? Honestly, the floor was the unsung hero. Here's a final word from the Frontlines. History doesn't reward the loud. It rewards the prepared. If this kind of hard-earned wisdom matters to you, if you want lessons that still work when comfort fails, then you're definitely in the right place. Subscribe to Wisdom from the Frontlines. Share this with someone who thinks survival is all about gear instead of thinking. And remember this one truth the Vikings understood better than most. The smartest fire is the one you don't need to keep burning.